What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Processing Blue, where we process blue for you. I'm Alex Zietlow, a Carolina Panthers beat writer for the Charlotte Observer, and I'm joined today by Scott Fowler, the Observer's indelible sports columnist. Okay, before we talk about anything Panthers related, we got a quick programming note. There are still a few tickets available for this amazingly fun event that we have planned for subscribers of the Observer. Jalen Coker will be at Old Mecklenburg Brewery in Ballantyne, and him and I and Scott will all be there to talk Panthers football and more. The date on that is September 1 at 6 p.m. Tickets are going fast, but some are still available. $10. You need to be a subscriber of the Observer to purchase those tickets. And guess what? If you're not a subscriber right now, feel free to become one, as Zach looks at me all weird. All proceeds go to Jalen's charity of choice. Scott, am I missing anything on that?
No, not really, but I would advise anyone who wants into this to hurry. Our initial allotment, we have sold out. So what we were doing at this point is figuring out a way to get some more seats in there. And we are going to get some more seats in there, but there's only that space is big, but it's not like Spectrum Center. So we got to get if you want to go to this, you need to go ahead and sign up. Again, the date is September 1st.
September 1. It's kind of like the Charlotte Checkers when they broke the American Hockey League team in town. It's like when they broke a record of capacity by selling out the arena one night, and then the next night they broke the same record just because they just put some like bleacher chairs in or like folding chairs in there. Yeah, so that is what we are doing at the Charlotte Observer. We are doing this for y'all, for Jalen, for Scott Fowler. Okay, so you should do it for Scott Fowler too. Scott, we got a lot to talk about this week. A lot of kind of concerning things to talk about this week. A lot of angst. But first, I want to check in with you. How are you? Did you win your tennis match this week?
No.
Okay.
Did not.
Oh God.
Got beat pretty badly.
Well,
we'll skip any talk about that. But yeah, let's just say I was much like the Panthers' first team offense. That's about how well I played tennis.
Oh my
week.
God.
Yeah.
It was that bad.
Well,
it wasn't that bad.
Not very good.
That bad. And guys, let me just be very clear. Scott is quite good. He beat me really bad earlier this summer when life wasn't as busy. And I was like thinking, okay, no, I played tennis in high school. I know what I'm doing. But Scott's like a 5-0 and he just like absolutely worked me. So his opponent must have been pretty good. But he made a good point. If he looked like the Panthers on Saturday, it would be worrisome, concerning. Scott, in his column from this week, used the term embarrassing. So hopefully he didn't absolutely embarrass himself. But let's talk about this Bills game. I know that there is we got a lot to get to. We're going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars joint practice on Wednesday, and then ultimately look ahead to the Panthers' third preseason game against the Jaguars on Friday. And then we're also going to talk about Darren Waller. But let's start with this Bills game. Because there was a lot to talk about. Before we get into the Buffalo Bills catastrophe, however you want to call it, and again, it's preseason, you should use context as required. The big quote that went kind of viral and kind of went everywhere after the game was what Dave Canales said afterwards when I asked him about why the starters, who were initially planned to participate in 10 to 20 snaps, only got 9 snaps. Let's listen. Dave, the plan was to have Bryce Young play 10 to 20 snaps.
Yeah.
He ended up only playing 9.
Yeah.
Can you kind of go into the reasoning as to why?
Yeah, my hope was 20-ish plays, but I also had a 3-series cap in my mind. We didn't earn those extra reps. The first quarter was over. We had 3 series. We went three and out 3 times. So we got to do better. We got to move the chains. We got to make sure we have more opportunities for those guys. But the intent of it was get your mind ready. We're going to play football. We had 3 series. We didn't come out with much out of those series, but that was also a part of the plan.
So he used the term, the starters didn't earn more plays. Scott, what is your initial reaction to that?
I was fine with it. I mean, I would have liked to have seen them play some more, but I don't have any problem with that. I think my thought on that, and I wasn't in Buffalo, you were, so you had the firsthand experience and you asked that question. But watching it on TV, I thought his main fear there probably was that Bryce Young was going to get hurt. They were protecting him about as poorly as they did in his rookie season of 2023, where it was remarkable he started as many games as he did because he was just getting his bell rung over and over. Especially, in the middle of the line there where they had Fortner and Christensen and Chandler Zavala, who really had a poor game, a really poor game. And I just thought that Canales basically said, look, we could go a fourth drive, but I'm just going to get them out while they're still, they've had some bad injury luck this training camp, not in games so much as in, in practices. Nick Scorton being the first number on that, but their offensive line's already banged up. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what happened too. I think there's also something a little extra as well. I understand that most people consider the preseason as a time for the starters to iron out wrinkles when it comes to any operational issues they have, any communication issues they have. They're not super focused on executing because they're playing a shell of an offense, a shell of a defense, what have you. I mean, they care about the execution, but they don't care as much about the result. The head coach on down to the training staff will tell you that. The preseason is also really important for the players who are fighting for their NFL lives, for the guys who are going to be at the bottom of this roster trying to make the team. And so I think Dave saying the starters didn't play inspired enough to play more than 9 plays because they didn't want, or Dave was, this is how I interpret it, Dave didn't want the starters getting in the way of like really valuable evaluation time for the Jasim Reeds of the world, for the Jimmy Horns of the world, for the the players at the bottom of the roster who might make the 53 team or might not, the guys on the bubble. That's in very important part, a very important function of these preseason games that I think sort of gets overlooked, and understandably so, but like if the first team offense is going to take away reps from, Trevor Etienne or Achan or whatever the case may be, and this team needs to figure out how these guys play in a game setting in order to maximize their roster, I think all that makes sense. In addition to the injury concerns that you were saying, Scott.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right, Alex, that was good. All right.
I agree. They played Jasim Reed more, and then Jasim Reed got hurt. So.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's going to happen. You do have to. This is basically just preseasons, more or less, to evaluate figure out the bottom 15 of your roster. Probably, probably the top, 40-ish players already. But this week, I'm sure they will play more, and there won't be a 3 series cap probably on the offense. There'll be, I would guess, more of a 1/2 gap. I think this is the only time that they're going to play because they're not going to play in the 4th preseason game if you judge on past what they do. So this is a week where we're really going to see a lot. This is an important trip to Jacksonville. And I agree, they got to figure out, a number of positions. We've seen some flashes, some other guys too. Preseason is just, that's the way it is. People get worked up, and I get it, but the earned quote I had no problem with.
Well, I don't mean to minimize the other side of people who are like, wait, what are you talking about, earn? You earn your rest in the preseason, and they didn't earn squat. Like Jonathan Brooks had 4 touches, a total of like 12 yards or something.
Yeah, that wasn't really his fault.
But Bryce Young couldn't find completions. They couldn't convert on a first down after starting on a 2nd and 1, which is just like borderline unacceptable.
Well, interestingly, what you to talk about that point a little more, Steve Smith on the broadcast, because I'm watching the broadcast.
Yeah.
So he says that John Fox, at some points when they had Jake and Steve, they were both on the broadcast together, so it's interesting to hear that, that sometimes John Fox would get PO'd at the first team offense as they weren't playing well in preseason, says, you guys don't get to sit down yet. You're going to play 4 or 5 snaps 4 or 5 series until you get 2 first downs or whatever. So that's the other side of it. John Fox believed in the other side of it. So the other people, people who are taking that, I understand that. It's a good debate.
Yeah, no, it is a fair debate. Yeah. It's just like the term "earn it."
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah.
It's just.
He was. I think he's a little. You could hear a little
He was a
frustration
little-
in his
he was a little
voice there.
frustrated.
A
Yeah,
little
yeah.
more so than usual. So I mean, the way he was listening to your question and going, yeah. I mean, he was ready to get that out there. So so I don't. More power to him. I like when Dave Canales is a little. Sometimes after losses or poor performances, he's a little. Well, you can understand a little more what he's thinking. Than sometimes after wins, and that's the way a lot of coaches are.
Okay, before we move off of this game, do you want to talk about anything beyond the first team offensive starters earning their playing time or not earning their playing time?
Yeah. I thought the most positive thing watching it back was, and I wasn't watching it live because we were dropping off a kid at college, so there was good
congratulations.
reason not to do it.
Nice.
But I did watch the whole thing backwards and some of it twice. But their pass rush, Jalen Phillips,
Yep.
man, that guy's a stud, and we've heard that over and over, but it's a little bit different to see it. And I also like the way Princely played. So those two things I thought were good. I thought the defense, like the back seven, wasn't that great, and Josh Allen and Kyle Allen, former Panther Kyle Allen, lit them up.
How is Kyle Allen still in this league? Man?
Kyle Allen was not bad when he was here. Honestly,
that's not what I'm trying to say. But he was there in the Cam Newton years.
He's been there He's been around. He's made a long career of being a backup quarterback. He really has.
Yeah.
I mean, with Josh Allen, you're never going to have to play. The guy's so durable. So
Yeah.
he's in a really good spot right there. A lot of former Panthers, on that team, even without Sean McDermott, who, by the way, I saw at the Hall of Fame. Sean McDermott, he's in there in the Hall of Fame, just amid the fans with one of his kids,
Just vibing.
Panther fans coming up taking pictures. He's so nice to every single person.
that's
It was
great.
really cool. But anyway, he's not there, but Brandon Bean is, and DJ Moore, and a host of other Panthers. It is still very much Carolina North up there.
Yeah, no, okay. That's great. I want to just briefly talk about JT Sanders and really just this tight end room.
Yeah.
Word spread, or the news broke, that Darren Waller was coming on to the Panthers last week on Wednesday. So 3-4 days prior to this game in Buffalo. Immediately after the Panthers didn't sign him but agreed to terms with Darren Waller, JT Sanders goes on his Instagram story, and Scott, I know that you're on everyone's Instagram story, so I don't even need to rehash this for you, but let me just say this.
What is Instagram?
JT Sanders goes on his Instagram story and posts I believe a verse of scripture basically saying just like, trust God's plan and everything will work out as long as you follow him, blah, blah, blah. And it was like a moment where JT Sanders kind of acknowledged, oh snap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to have to earn, my spot, not only on this team, but like in the NFL. And, I was really looking forward to seeing not only how he responded, but how Tommy Tremble responded, how Mitchell Evans responded, even how James Mitchell, the tight end number 5, I guess now, who sometimes gets overlooked, but actually had moments of really good play in last year's training camp and preseason, and he came in off the practice squad a couple of times for the Panthers also last year as well. But like, I wanted to see how the tight end group responded.
Yeah.
Tommy Tremble caught a pass, I believe. I believe JT Sanders caught a pass, but no explosiveness, no separation. I mean, I'm not saying the receivers got any separation either. Tedero McMillan ran 6 routes, and it looked like he was nowhere to be found. Xavier Legette, same thing. Jalen Coker got open a couple of times, and he actually caught a pass, a pretty good play, but that ended up getting called back for a penalty. So whatever you want to make of that. But the tight end room, like this is the game where you step up, where you like make some plays, you prove, you defend your name. And I don't know whether it was the opportunities didn't come or what have you, but I was a bit disappointed in that. I mean, and just because they just didn't show up. on the stat line. I don't know if you have any like thoughts like that, or like any other position group that was like, wait, were they out there today?
Yeah, no, I felt the same way with the tight ends.
Yeah.
I thought Trimble made one okay play on a reception, but in general, this has been a problem area for them since 2019. It's been a long time. Greg Olson left in 2019, and he was at the end of his career by then. Went to Seattle, but ever since then, they've had two great tight ends in their history, Wesley Walls and Greg Olson, and they've both been multiple Pro Bowl players. So Panther fans know what good tight end play is like, and know what a threat of a tight end downfield, down the seam is like. And we haven't seen it for 6 or 7 years here with any regularity. And that's, when you see these teams that have Kelsey and Kittle and some of these guys,
Just
and
a safety
honestly,
blanket, yeah.
Darren Waller for 2 years, but those 2 years were kind of a long time ago. But he was one of those elite tight ends that scare you. And the Panthers haven't had anybody to scare you there for a long time. So this, to me, is the Waller signing when we get into that. But, I think it's a little bit of an admission of a mistake by the Panthers, because you don't do this normally this late, and no one's hurt.
No one's hurt.
It's not like that. It's just like, these guys are not quite good enough. We're going to throw some more, we're going to try some more, throw some more resources at this.
Yeah, let's get into the Darren Waller conversation if you're ready for it. Okay, a couple things up top. And so we're recording this on a Monday. I was out there on a stiflingly hot Monday practice. Darren Waller was also out there, but he was not in uniform. This was his literal first day in the Bank of America Stadium facilities and stuff like this. So passed his physical, and according to Dave Canales, looked really good in the return to play process, whatever that means. A couple things up top. Dave said probably, but I can.
Probably means won't.
He won't.
That's a for sure thing.
He is not going to participate in the Jacksonville Jaguars joint practice. He might do some individual drills. He might be wearing a helmet and pads and a jersey, that number 35 jersey, but he will not be participating.
Is that his number, 35?
Off the roster, yeah. I imagine it's temporary because
okay. Yeah,
like
it's a strange number. Yeah.
Well, because like all the 80s and the whatever and the lower
Yeah,
numbers are all
yeah.
taken.
Okay.
Because
you need somebody to get cut.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So he will not be part of the combative parts of Jacksonville Jaguars joint practice on Wednesday.
Parts of joint practice.
He also will probably not. I would be very, very shocked if he plays at all in the preseason game on Friday night with the Jaguars.
Yeah, it's probably not where you start him out.
No. However, Waller did say that he feels ready for this physically. He's been training and working out since February, since after the Super Bowl. He feels much better than last year, in a year where he only played 8 games and had several stints on the injured reserve for the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, last year he was coming back out of retirement, and he didn't play at all in 2024. And yes, he also, with talking to media on Monday, he rehashed his performance against the Panthers from a year ago, which was his best game of 2025. It's funny how the Panthers made running backs and tight ends look so good last year, particularly early in the year last year.
This game was probably a part of the reason why he got signed, honestly.
It very much could be. I asked Darren about that game from a year ago in Week 5, and here's what he said.
It was kind of surreal because, like I said, like the first game, it was like a few targets, and it's like I've always prided myself on being efficient with the number of opportunities that I'm getting, as opposed to saying I need this many opportunities. So it's like then going into the Carolina game in the first half, it's like, okay, like third down conversion, okay, here comes a couple more completions, and it's like you're not even really aware of the stats or anything, but it's like I feel like I'm just almost doing what I want to do out here, which is like, I haven't played in 2 years. It's like it's just hard to process all that, but it's like just really trying to get back to a place of gratitude that I can go out on the field and be impactful for my team with that time off. So just trying to just appreciate the fact that that's a possibility for me.
Almost doing what I want to do out here. It's good quote.
It is a really good quote. Scott, what do you make of literally just the word salad that I threw at you right before Darren Waller gave his answer?
Well, I think it's something worth exploring.
Yep.
It may not work out. Darren Waller will turn 34 on opening day, which is September 13th. 34 is pretty old. Now, a tight end, you can do it. Sometimes tight ends do play longer than other position players. That said, he will be the oldest positional player on the Panthers because it is a young man's game.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Not specialist. You know, J.J. Jansen is like 110 or something. But, yeah, the rest of them are, you know, and they're almost most position players. I mean, you know, by the time you're 31 or 32, it's, you know, you're pretty old. So Darren Waller is, but again, that has happened. I think, you know, Kelsey's going into, good gracious, year 14 or something. He looks like, you know, just watching Darren Waller clips and like his build and stuff, you can see why you'd be enamored of him. He looks like Cam Newton. Very much the same height, right around 6'6", 6'5 and a half was Cam, I think. You know, weight-wise, I think Waller at some points have been listed as high as 255, although I think in what you wrote today, maybe 238.
238.
So he's a little leaner, which is good. But, you know, again, this is a guy who played wide receiver at Georgia Tech. He's got all kind of skills. I just remember watching him, you know, being a fantasy football player myself. He's, you know, he was a beast in fantasy football for a while. There was one game he had 13 catches for 200 yards. That's ridiculous for a tight end. That's like, you know, that's been like 2 months worth of Panther tight end performances for most of the last couple of years. So it's worth exploring. I worry about the injuries. There's a reason he wasn't signed or you know, a huge, highly sought commodity. But give it a shot, man. Give it a shot, and let's see if the guy can, you know, great thing about him, good stat that you wrote, I think, Alex, I think he only had 24 catches last year, but 6 were for touchdowns. That's 25% of your catches for touchdowns, man. You'll take that.
Led the team, or was tied for the team lead in touchdown catches, and he played 9 games.
Right. And one of those was here, I think.
Yeah.
And, I mean, and he just is, he's an enormous target down low, and they've got some of those. I mean, you know, T-Mac is a great target near the end zone and such, but you never can have too many. So that's where I think they're just gonna give it a shot. And if it doesn't work out in a month, you probably can release him with not much harm done. But let's hope it does work out and makes that position more interesting, because it hasn't been that interesting in a long time.
You mentioned the injuries. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about his durability? As I mentioned, only played 9 games last year, only started 3 of them. He started last year on the injured reserve, but you also got to give him some sort of slack because he didn't play at all in 2024. He retired at the end of 2023. He didn't play at all in 2024, and then he just got the idea that something was pulling him back to the game of football in June of 2025, and then the Dolphins came in and signed him. So he wasn't NFL ready yet, in his own words. I mean, I know I tend to take players at their word immediately, particularly in introductory press conference settings where they're often a bit more optimistic than perhaps they should be or whatever the case may be. But he just everything about him seems ready to me. And that's a positive thing. Are you a little bit more cynical or a little bit more guarded about his durability?
I mean, a little more guarded. I'd put his in. You know, I'd be concerned in like 1 through 10. With 10 the most concerned, I'd probably say about a 6 or 7.
Oh gosh,
there you go. Do it in your car, everybody. But somewhere in there. Let's say 6.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to Jacksonville.
Wait a minute. Do you know Darren Waller's celebrity marriage, though? Do you know that?
No, tell me.
Kelsey Plum. He was married to WNBA star Kelsey Plum.
Yo, she's a bucket.
Only for 1 year.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's over now. But, you know, and he's also got a big musical history.
Trust me, I know that.
You know that part.
I know that
You
part.
can read all about this in my column, soon to be column on Darren Waller.
I cannot wait to read that because
It's a very interesting
this is actually
backstory. And a guy with a great foundation who's really trying to make a difference in his own very, he's very honest about the addictions he's undergone, and he's trying hard to make something good out of something that was really bad for him for a long time.
Last week on Wednesday, the day that the Panthers agreed to terms with him was actually his 9 years of sobriety anniversary.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That's
right.
wonderful. I was contemplating not saying this, but I got to say this. This is like so embarrassing, but you know how they do the Spotify Wrapped every year?
Oh no.
Yes. A Darren Waller song
Oh.
was on that. It was like, it wasn't like a top 5 song or anything, but it was like
What was it?
It was a
Choose
song.
Wisely?
No, it was a song. It was a song, Top Plays. I believe that's
Top
the title.
Plays.
Oh my gosh.
That's not as embarrassing what if you had a Pat McAfee on there?
Oh God, dude.
But Darren Waller, Darren Waller may be pretty talented. I don't know. I honestly haven't heard his rap. I know that's more your genre.
Yo,
Yeah.
it was so.
It's
It's
good,
just,
huh?
it's just like so fun. It's just,
Okay.
I mean, I'm probably gonna get clowned. Hey, if you want to clown me in the comments.
Listen,
I deserve this one.
Before you get too clowny, though, I mean, remember who his
Where
great
did you
grandfather is? Fats Waller. Ain't misbehaving. That is
Whoa.
Fats Waller. That is a guy who is.
Are you
is
kidding
a
me?
jazz pianist that is so famous. He had a musical made out of his music.
Wow.
He won multiple Grammys. I mean, Fats Waller was big time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just like, it was 100 years ago or 50 years ago or whatever, but he does have the genetics for it.
That is remarkable,
Yeah.
man. This is what you learn. Okay, this is what you learn if you're a subscriber to the Charlotte Observer.
Who would have thought we would have gotten to Fats Waller on Processing Blue 2 weeks ago? But yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Jacksonville. I am driving down to the beautiful state of Florida, 6-hour drive tomorrow on Tuesday. And by the time you're listening to this, I am in Jacksonville for the Jaguars joint practice on Wednesday. Scott, I was just like, this section, I probably should have done a better outline on it, but I literally just said Scott and Alex banter about what you hope to see in Jacksonville. Well, let me give you just a list of options. What are you most hoping to see in the preseason game? I'm talking about the preseason game, not the joint practice. The preseason game in Jacksonville on Friday night. Are you hoping for the Panthers' first-team offense to actually get a first down? Are you hoping for Bryce Young to look competent? Are you hoping for the tight ends to flash? Are you hoping to see some sort of differentiation between Claude and Cherylus and Trevin Wallace, who are fighting for a starting spot among the inside linebackers? What about the rest of the defensive line not named Derek Brown, because they also did not show up at all in Buffalo? Just give me a list of things, or one thing in particular. Actually, let's do the one thing in particular that you are hoping to see in Jacksonville on Friday night.
Well, I'd say, first of all, I want to look at the offensive line, because I think they'll be closer to what was going to play against Chicago September 13th. And if there's as much problems protecting Bryce as there were in this previous game, that's a major problem.
It's a problem.
Because Robert Hunt, I think, will play. Damian Lewis, I think, will play.
Hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And so with that, and I guess Fortner will be, he's not hurt, right? He'll play. So you've got your tackles where they are right now, because Ike Ekwonu, who knows? I mean, we may be talking about that for months before he plays, or he may play. Dave Canales, I think, wouldn't rule him out today for week 1. So who knows? But I don't think Ike Ekwonu's, coming back real soon. Taylor Moton, I don't know. So, in other words, this could be the line we see on regular season opening day.
Mm-hmm.
And if I think they'll be much better, honestly, offensively. If they're not, that's probably what I'm looking for more than anything. What about yourself?
Well, I'm also going to focus on the offensive line for just a quick second. They need to figure out what they want to do with Chandler Zavala. And I understand that this is kind of a more niche thing when you're talking about the casual Panthers fans will probably not know about, the second string and maybe even third string interior offensive lineman who plays in both guard spots. But Chandler Zavala was a draft pick not that long ago. In 2024, he was a draft pick. I believe it was a 4th round, something like that. They had a vision for him. Not 2024, 2023. He was a draft pick. Frank Reich had a vision for him to play alongside Ike Ekwonu, his college teammate at NC State, for a long time because they had this chemistry, blah, blah, blah. Injuries, a variety of things have hampered the career of Chandler Zavala, but he has had opportunities this preseason. He's had opportunities this training camp, and he has just not executed on them. He gave up a sack in Buffalo. They have given him like every opportunity, even going back to 2025. Injuries plagued him there. I mean, just like what are you going to do with Chandler Zavala? That is a question that this front office and that this coaching staff will need to tackle head on. They even put him at the center spot in training camp on Monday just to see, hey, do you have snapping potential? You know, and so they are going to try to figure something out with him. But it's just unclear at this point, kind of like, and so that was a whole bunch of word salad to talk about one guy, but like this is one of the things that this coaching staff thinks about in a preseason game. Guys who might not or might make this 53-man roster. Is Chandler Zavala one of them? Going into this training camp, I would have thought that Chandler Zavala had like a 70 to 80% chance of making this team. Now I think it's closer to a 50% chance.
Yeah.
So that's that on that. That's plenty of ink and plenty of airwaves.
Fourth
on
round
him.
pick in 2023. I had to look it up.
Okay,
But you were right. Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. But you know, the guy who drafted him is long gone, both guys. You know, the GM too. So, guys, you know, at some point you have to make. You know, he's in his fourth year and. With a new GM and a new coach and whatever, and people like to have their own guys in there too. You know, that's just natural. When you hire somebody, you may give them a little longer leash. So he's one guy who's, you know, you're gonna have to look at, and there's many more, you know, that are in all these backup roles where you think, well, it's not really that important, but it is. Within week 3, most of them, you know, they're playing, or at least they're on special teams, and by week 13. I mean, you've got starters that are coming in off the street. You know, that happens every single year. Vinny Testaverde started a game here one time. He came in on a Tuesday, started on a Sunday, the quarterback, and won. I mean, you have to have people like Darren Waller coming in and just making an impact and picking it up very quickly. I liked what Waller said today about that it looked like the script right now was written in Mandarin.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good line. A lot of people aren't going to say Mandarin necessarily, but it just kind of shows you Darren Waller. He's, you know, you can tell he's a well-traveled guy.
He's been around.
Smart guy, a lot of interest. I mean, we need him to be good for a variety of reasons. He's going to be good as for reporters for sure, but let's hope he's good for the Panthers. Yes,
that's what you mean.
I'm always looking for another guy who's a good quote. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So am I. Okay, Scott. Anything else? We covered Darren Waller. We covered the abysmal Saturday afternoon in Buffalo. We are a bit more optimistic about Friday in Jacksonville. Anything else before we get on out of here, do you think?
Only thing I would say is let's make one more plug for our event, which is
absolutely.
September 1st with Jalen Coker in the house, and we will be asking him questions about this upcoming season. And of course, he just signed a brand new contract. He's going to start opposite T-Mac at wide receiver, and we expect him, of course, to have a big year. So, and we would love to see any of you listeners there that you know, or anyone else that you want to bring along. But be an Observer subscriber. Come see us. We'd love to talk Panthers with you. That'll only be 13 games, 13 days before the opener. So this is a long stretch. I think the longest. Well, it almost feels to me like the longest stretch of the season. Mid-August to like mid-September. It's just so you've played a preseason game or two, and you're like, oh, there's more. But this will be a nice event to break it up. And OMB is just in Ballantyne is just a great location. We've had an event there before, went spectacularly well, and so we're returning there. So I would just mention that one more time, and you can find that on Eventbrite or Charlotte Observer website.
Absolutely. Also, subscribe to our newsletter, Access Panthers. I am writing that every week, and it is a fun kind of arena for me to talk about things beyond like the nuts and bolts of a game, and I get to kind of use my voice a little bit more in those newsletters. Also have some trivia that is pretty fun. Scott thinks the trivia is like super fun, right, Scott?
It's great. And he did mention he read the book Tom Lake, which I've also read too. So who thought we would get Tom Lake? He is not a possible sub for Chandler Zavala either. Tom Lake is a novel by Ann Patchett.
Yes.
But we digress. But yes, that newsletter, actually, I will give it a plug, is fantastic. So you guys, you need to sign up for that. That's free. We're not asking for anything there except just an email address, and you will love it.
Absolutely. And here we go. Thanks, as always, for listening to our pontifications on all things Panthers with Scott Fowler and myself and our wonderful producer, Zach Dennis. Please subscribe and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts by searching Processing Blue. And if you watch us on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to get notified whenever new episodes drop. And finally, please be sure to stick to charlotteobserver.com for all of your Panthers needs. Scott, stay humble, stay creative, and keep processing.